allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Bob, if you could take the roll call.
Palmer.
Here.
Jahan.
Here.
Gardine.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Highbauer. Here. Wonder Jim here. Buck.
Here. As a courtesy to the members of the audience on the Board of Education, please silence your cell phone. Any person wishing to address the board may speak at this time. Any person wishing to address the board should complete and submit a public comment form that were available at the door to the board president immediately prior to the beginning of the meeting. Public comment forms are available at each board meeting, and presentations are limited to 5 minutes. So I will call you up to the microphone. Where's the microphone? Okay, the microphone is over there. I have these reading glasses on and I can't see anything. Okay, and I'm going to start the timer so we can get everybody up here. And I found this dandy bell from the high school office that they use to, okay? So at 4 minutes, I'm just going to do that, okay? And I'll stop it. And then after that, I will do at 5 minutes. Okay. And I hate cutting people off. I'm not that type of person. I'm a good listener and I'm like, so anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. Another reminder is we will not make a comment back. That is just not what happens at the board meeting. So we don't comment back, but I'm really looking forward to Roger will go. Typically we do reports from the board members. We update what we've been doing, where we've been, what's going on in the district. But this time we're going to have Roger go first. So if you want to stick around for that, you're more than welcome to. We have a lot of other exciting things on our agenda also, if y'all want to stay even longer than that. So anyway, I'm going to call the first person up. So when you do get to the mic, if you could please state your name, your address. If you're not from within Grandville, then your affiliation. All right. Great. Okay. Rachel Fellows.
Hello.
Yep.
I'm Rachel Fellows. My address is 3821 White Street. And I've been a Grandville resident for about 10 years. And I have an 8-year-old currently attending GPS as a remote learner and a 13-year-old who used to attend GPS up until this year. I pulled him from the school district to homeschool, but I hope to have him eventually return, which is why I'm here to speak in support of the diversity, equity, and inclusion director position. Some background on my 13-year-old. He is autistic and has ADHD and anxiety. He is also trans and queer, coming out as both in the 5th grade when he was 11. The teachers and staff at Central Elementary did the absolute best that they could with my kid, but in the end, it wasn't enough. I saw my kid turn, my child just did not feel safe at school and hadn't felt safe since the 3rd grade. And I saw him turn from an outgoing, energetic, and creative child to a child who was withdrawn, combative, and anxious. Even with an IEP, weekly counseling, and meds, school refusal became an issue and was to such a point that he had to do the homebound program, leading into the school shutdowns at the beginning of the pandemic. We had high hopes for the middle school years, but we soon learned that anxiety about work expectations and being on camera for Google Meets was leading to the same school refusal. So we are homeschooling for the time being. I had a chance to watch the March 1st board meeting when you discussed the strategic plan, and I can't stop thinking about the term that was brought up, psychological safety. I genuinely believe that making sure that our district is sensitive to the diverse needs of the students while striving for equity and inclusivity will help make school a place where my kid feels respected and safe and can begin to trust the process of public schooling again. And I really hope so, because I do not want to teach Algebra 2. I want to leave that up to the professionals. I know that my kid isn't the only kid to feel unheard, unseen, and unsafe at school, whether because of their race, gender, sexuality, neurodiversity, class status, mental health status, disability status, trauma, or special needs. My hope is that a diversity, equity, and inclusion director can help the faculty and staff of GPS help those kids and their families feel heard, seen, and safe by their teachers and peers. In that, the DEI director will help all students, not just those who are marginalized in some way. There are some parents who are under the impression that having a diversity, equity, and inclusion director means that the kids will be taught a new critical race theory curriculum, or that it's some nefarious agenda. When pressed, most of these parents can't tell you what critical race theory is or what it does. And CRT isn't even a curriculum to begin with, nor is it some scary agenda. In a nutshell, CRT is a framework to study the ways in which racism is baked into our institutions, mostly in terms of the justice system, but also in other institutions as well, including the education system. I feel that these parents who have concerns are conflating critical race theory with shoddy corporate diversity training that they've heard about within their media bubbles that supposedly teaches white people they are inherently racist and evil. They are afraid that the DEI director will somehow segregate the students, or they're afraid that their first graders will be taught about LGBTQ issues within a new curriculum. They think that these issues should be left up to parents. They sometimes even deny that social inequalities or systemic oppression are a problem in Grandville or anywhere else. However, what these parents might not realize is that this is not a curriculum change, and that the DEI director position seeks to make schools safe for everybody. And that includes white, cisgender, heterosexual Christian students. I know that you aren't hiring a mere diversity consultant for training sessions. You're looking for someone to do the big job of making our school system fair and inclusive to everyone. And I conclude that it is a cynical mistake to think that just because this might result in uplifting students from marginalized backgrounds, like my kid, that necessarily means that students who fit in with the status quo will be pushed down. Instead, here's what we really gain: a system that strives to uplift everyone when they are all treated inclusively with fairness and thoughtfulness. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, Jim Peter. Petter? Jill.
Yeah, right person.
I got it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jill.
I am Jill Petter, 3511 Yellowstone, and I basically was gonna say everything she said, so I'm gonna change it a little bit, but I just feel like we definitely do need to include all the people of our community, all the people of color, and not just white, all the people and you know, their sexual preferences or their sexual identity. I don't understand the pushback why we wouldn't, and it's a public school, so that means that we include all of our children, no matter what's happening with them, and we love them through it all.
Thank you.
That makes sense. Isn't there enough pressure to fit in? Like, we all feel it too as adults, and just that extra help to help people, the kids, feel more included and comfortable in their environment. It just makes sense to me. Let's make a difference for those generations coming up and to be better people than we are in accepting each. It doesn't mean that you need to agree with decisions or things that people are doing, but we can still love each other and we can still get along, and not like when our kids are losing friends because of their political affiliation, that's not okay. They're kids, they have enough pressures as it is. I'm going way off here, sorry. I have a high schooler who feels it and sees it and sees the racism within the school, the language and the words and the clothing that kids wear is super offensive. Not all kids, obviously, but even if you're just taking a kid down one notch because they see a shirt that tells them that they're not okay, or the color of their skin is not accepted here. It just breaks my heart It breaks my heart for these kids. They have too much going on already, and then to pile all this on top of them and make them feel like outsiders, it's not okay. And I think to have this DEI position filled is amazing, and I think it can help stop it at an even younger level, just to get that, training. And it's not somebody off the street who has a political opinion. It's somebody who understands the problem here and can help us fix it from the ground up. And I really appreciate that. That's all.
Thank you, Jill. All right, Solomon Petter. Hi, Solomon.
Hi, I'm Solomon Petter, 3511 Yellowstone Drive. I'm a freshman at the Grandville High School here, and I'm going to start with actually a story from May 17th. Today, after I finished my third hour, I head to lunch, and I usually go to my friends. I'll sit down, we'll talk, have some food, normal stuff to lunch. Today, I had my seat taken, and this proceeded to fill up the table. As I walked by to go find a new seat, one of the kids at this table proceeded to tell me that it is now a straights only table, and I had to find a new seat. I proceeded to leave and go on with my day, but this hurt and is things that commonly happen throughout the Grandville High School. And I think this is really something that needs to be dealt with. So this could, working with somebody to help fix this type of thing. Walking through the halls, you can hear words, the N-word, F-slur, commonly used regularly when you just don't fit in completely with the rest of the kids. You can end up discriminated against and completely just like torn apart. Things that happen, you'll get told to stop being you. And if we can deal with this, it's something that needs to be done. I have friends who don't understand what's up with them and what's happening and why they're being torn apart by other students. And while these other kids are just trying to fit in, even if that's all that's happening, they're just trying to be with everyone else. That's what they think they need to be doing. It's what they've been doing for years. It's what's been happening here for years. Even with people who can help with students, our counselors, lots of teachers, we need something to step in and try and help with this problem. Like just the racism, homophobia, etc., going on throughout the school. There'll just be shirts that will completely just like disregard somebody. And really, if you state your opinion to them, they will completely just stop talking to you. I've been blocked by people. People stop talking to me for me being me or having my opinion. Lots of people just tell you not to be you, and we need to help with that. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Solomon. Blake Mazurek.
Board. I had dental work done today, and I'm a little bit worried about the slurring happening here. So I'm going to go with ask you for forgiveness a little bit here. My name is Blake Mazurek. I'm the president of the Grandville Education Association. I would like to read my statement if I may. Good evening, board members and administration. I have the honor of sharing with you the results of the Grandville Education Association's efforts in acknowledging and supporting our district's work in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. As you know, our district has formed a DEI committee and is in the process of hiring a DEI director in an effort to address our ever-changing student, staff, community, and community demographics, and our increased awareness of and support for underrepresented communities. The GEA is joining in your efforts. The purpose of this resolution is to highlight the importance of assuring all students and staff that they are seen, heard, and accepted in our community. Our association believes that these statements are an integral part of building up our community and establishing a core set of values, which will serve as support for and encouragement of our district's work in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. A close reading of our statement shows acceptance, not exclusion, encouragement, not indictment, recognition, not repudiation. We are your partners in building a stronger, more equitable school district and community. We also support the hiring of a DEI director for our students and staff. By this action, Grandville will be joining other districts in our area and the state in leading by example. The addition of a DEI director will not be at the expense of other programming or initiatives. It is, in fact, a critical enhancement of our efforts to be a district that provides the highest quality education for all students and will serve as an invaluable resource for our teachers and staff. The GEA believes it is important to apply these same standards to our own association. Our members formed a committee, and some of them are here tonight. I'd like to acknowledge them. Kristen Baker, maybe you can just raise your hand or wave. Henry Stallings. Katie Veenstra, I thought I saw Katie. Nicole Cass, Amy Mabin, and Allie Jensen. We set forth the draft, to create a draft of a set of resolutions to acknowledge these efforts. We presented the draft to our members for input, revised and edited based on those recommendations, followed by member-wide vote, which was overwhelmingly passed by the GEA membership. I've supplied a copy of the resolutions for your review and encourage our board to adopt similar resolutions in the future. Thank you for your commitment to our schools, to our staff, to our students, and our community. Your leadership in supporting in support of building a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive district is greatly appreciated. The GEA is excited to work together on this very important district goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Blake. Paul Palovin.
My name is Paul, 4071 Lukak Court. Had some stuff written out, but I think I'm just gonna kind of wing it up here. I graduated from Grandville. My whole siblings have graduated from Grandville. My wife, one of my sons already has. My daughter's about to. I have 3 little ones that are coming up in the system. Some of the stuff that is concerning to me with this DEI director position is where it's going to go for our kids. What are my kids going to see? What are my kids going to learn? What's the next step in this? One of my cousins, just for instance, he came out of the closet, and I love him to death. He's great. I've told my kids that I don't agree with his decision. And if your friends are friends, they're going to accept you any way you are. But what scares me the most is what's going to be taught and seen at school. We see it every day. We see it in the media. We see it on commercials. We see it on TV. It is everywhere out there. And it's scary to me. It's scary to me to see the direction that this world's turned to. And I'm especially scared for my kids. I think one of the problems that we have is our kids are growing up too fast. We're not treating them as children. They're learning stuff that they're not supposed to be learning too quick in life. And it's not good for them. I mean, and the kids can be easily molded in one direction or the other. And it's scary to me, everything that I see going on. And I'm scared for not only the school, but for my kids, for my family, and for the community, and for Grandville in general. This is a direction I didn't see us going. I'm not up here to bash anybody and any of their beliefs or any of their criteria or whatever they agree in and how they decide to live their life. That is their opinion. Some of it I don't see eye to eye with. If it was one of my good friends and he said something, I won't turn my back on him. And I feel bad for some of the criticism and stuff that some of these kids do receive in school. That's school life. I mean, that's been going back forever. It's kids. They're gonna be mean at times. They're gonna be cool at times. They're gonna be friendly at times. It's, you deal with bullies, you deal with some of this stuff. But at the same time, to have a full-time position with this going out there, I don't know what that next direction will be. I don't understand how having somebody go out there and what are they gonna be pushing? Are they gonna be pushing, my kids' sexual rights, my 6 kids' sexual preferences? I mean, I feel that that's my kids. That's my job as their parent. And that's my responsibility. So, with that, I'll say goodnight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. All right, I need my glasses. All right. Judy Kanapka. Judy. Hi, Judy.
Judy Knapka, 5712 Stonebridge Drive. What society has accomplished over the past several years has been a great disservice to our children. We have already been down the path of inclusion. Hence, all youth sports get a participation trophy for just showing up. This does not require our children to try hard in order to succeed because everyone's a winner. When a child walks into the doors of any elementary school, middle school, or high school, especially in Grandville, they have every opportunity to succeed in what they want to do: academics, sports, music, clubs, theater, you name it. If you look at our sports teams, there are students from all backgrounds represented on every team. Do we call that oppressive? We have separate clubs which allow for the expressiveness and creativity of each student. Is that oppressive? We are asking the school board and the administration to work with the parents of all students, and I stress all, because I have 3 children in this school district. However, I was not sent the survey. I don't know who sent it out or who had that responsibility or who picked what class. I was not part of that group. Or a better question is, why not include all ages, all grades, and all parents and send the survey out to everyone? Isn't it up to the parents to be more involved in what's happening at each school? The parents are here to teach their children about diversity and differences, about sexual preferences or transitioning, or about why some people may look different or be disabled. The school is for academics. Can you give us any reports or statistics in which positions like this was beneficial for any other school district? Could you see a position such as this being implemented into an inner city? That's an immediate straight call to racism. We just want our children to be children, learning to read, write, and accomplish math, which is not Common Core. Let them have a childhood. If their parents see issues, then have parents work with them. A child's differences should not be magnified by any person within the school district. A child's sexuality or sexual preference has no business being discussed or highlighted in school. A child's race, no matter what it is, should not be identifiable to make them different. That is also racism. My children have been in the school district for 14 years. We've never had an issue with including children of all race, creed, color, religion, disability, what have you. We've had the Be Nice community effort, which apparently I rarely see anymore or hear anything about. Can you tell us why, Mrs. Buck? I haven't seen that since my children were in elementary school and partially in the middle school. We have peer-to-peer, we have links, we have students helping students because they are all good kids. However, they will have separation by like. That's how you find your friends. That's how you have people in a group with common interests, common backgrounds. Let the students work together to become one student body, not one separated out by their differences. These differences were emphasized, when emphasized, are called for bullying. Now, there are anti-bullying efforts, clubs even, yet bullying has happened in each of the schools. How many resources have been allocated in this direction, yet we still have an issue? My child has been bullied for the past 3 years. Normal child, normal son. When I asked the school for help, I was immediately turned away and told to find an outside resource. When I'm asking if a child wants to transition, that should be between the parent and the child, not brought into our school system. To quote a professor of economics at Brown University, we need to teach our children to think, not tell them what to think. If you are bringing this position into our community, into our school district, into our schools, then ask the parents if there is a need and be all inclusive. If you are willing to pass this position into being, then consider all the parents that are in front of you now. Our schools went in the wrong direction when you took God out. You just replaced God with the devil and the values of the devil. And right now, the devil is winning because the majority of those who approve this position are falling into the trap of virtue signaling just to be recognized. I would like to quote a recent grad from 2019. I can't fathom teaching young kids these things. I've learned enough of what I need to know just by being a functioning human being in society. So please teach our children about history, math, literature, science. Let the parents handle the differences in the world we live in today. As parents, we need to grow our children into becoming functioning adults.
Thank you, Judy. Next, Amanda, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Chiaramante. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda Sharamani. I'm at 3142 Pine Meadow Drive. So I've been doing some research on the critical race theory here for a few weeks now. I've looked at both sides of this from every angle that I possibly can. I applaud the simple idea of what we're trying to do with the inclusion and all of that, and I see where you guys are coming from. However, there's a lot of things that I don't like. Using reversed racism is not the answer in our schools. Once you dip your toe in this, it's a quick, slippery slope that you guys can go down. We're talking about new books and erasing history and the 1619 stuff. I even saw the word Marxism in this. I mean, guys, let that word sit in for a minute. Marxism, if that doesn't scare you, taking away advanced classes, and you want that kid doing your surgery someday? I don't. So instead of implementing this controversial critical thinking, let's think outside the box. Let's do something different. Implement an organization in our schools that opens conversations of race and sex and gender and religion. Make this a youth service organization. Parents can put their kids in this and to voluntarily use their ears and voices to this cause. Learn all the differences and put that into play in their lives. So this youth service organization, here's what I'm thinking. Voluntarily, we can offer ways for the kids to get involved by volunteering in a group of high school kids can go into the elementary school classes and let our littles, ask them questions. Is there bullying in high school? How do you handle it? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Our littles really look up to those kids, and I think that they could make a difference. Diversity clubs. These kids can get together and have open conversations and share their own experiences with each other and know what to do from there. Let's offer something that the kids will be blessed to be a part of and never forced. An organization that helps and touches everyone, but never discriminates. When did having an opinion mean drawing such a hard line in the sand? Let's start a conversation. Let's let our kids start a conversation. Let us be the answers to their questions at home without planting these seeds of negativity. Let's end this critical thinking stuff and start our own. In the words of my 10-year-old son, so this way kids can feel free and don't feel forced. He's so smart. The schools may be receiving some government funds on this, I'm not sure, but let's just say no to that. And let's say yes to letting our kids be the solution in this.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Shannon Foss.
Hi, I'm Shannon Foss, 4310 Delmar, and my kids are in the Grandville school system. As I was listening to some of these discussions up here, I took a lot of them to heart. Kids are being bullied. I see it. I've lived it. I've dealt with it. I hate it. What I wanted to start with is that I have a concern. That's a phrase that we use at Spectrum Health where I work when we want to have a safe place to talk, where we know there's going to be no reprisal. My first concern is regarding this DEI position. I heard that there's a board that's working with it. Is anyone else on this side represented in that board? Maybe that would be a way to bring everybody together, is to bring that board with somebody from all sides, all representation to it. There's actual videos that came out on YouTube that showed teachers and how they were concerned about helicopter parents watching over their kids while they were on online school, worried about them having a hard time deprogramming these kids. Not my words, they're from the video. What I would like to see is, yes, inclusion. I would like to see diversity. I would like to see happy, well-rounded kids. And I think that's a parent's job as well as the school, but the school's there to teach them their math, their arithmetic, English. But the problem is, if you look at CPLC right now, they dropped their advanced math program. Why? There's kids that benefit from that program. It's gone. They were told that they can work farther on their Chromebooks or on their Khan Academy if they wanted extra work. It's not a functional program anymore. And I know my kids benefited from it. I think bringing our team together on both sides, there shouldn't be sides. I think we're all here, we want the same thing. You know, we want good, healthy, happy kids. It transitions to my next problem. We hear some up here talking about the bullying in the school, and it's been brought up from both sides. My son was bullied all the way through elementary school. I spent more time in Tanya's office than I did at work, which is really scary. At one point, I wrote Roger Barrett a letter outlining everything that's happened over my son's time at school. And it escalated to the point where he was being physically assaulted. The response I got back, you get farther faster going to Tanya. I responded back, excuse me, but if you don't do something, I will call the police. This is assault. I'm tired of my kids not being cared for and not being safe in school. The Be Nice program is a joke. Like we said, we haven't heard about it in a long time. And if this program was designed to keep these kids safe, the one that came up here and talked, it failed him. And it's failing our kids. This DEI position, we have so many kids right now being housed at Helen DeVos because of their mental problems, because their depression and their suicidal ideations that are brought on and exacerbated by COVID and isolation. This is not getting better. And having a DEI position at this point is not going to help that. This position is what, $130,000 to $150,000 a year. You can get 2 social workers for that, who can do a lot of work. Our kids need somebody that can help them. And this DEI position can guide the school. But what is it going to do for the kids right now? We need their help right now. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you take this to heart.
Thank you, Shannon. Brenda Bargenclost.
I have a nasty cough due to allergies, and I have a lot to say in a short amount of time, so I pre-recorded what I'm going to say. And also then I won't get so emotional. Children that graduated from Grandville in 2014 and 15. I have a son graduating on Thursday and a daughter graduating next year. All four of them members of the National Honor Society, all involved in honors. Can you hear?
Can you hear?
Do you think eliminating
No.
classes and dumbing down the curriculum in the name of fairness is the right thing
That
to
was
do for
better.
students? I pray for the future of our country. I was
Right next
disappointed
to
to hear that the advanced math program has already been discontinued at the elementary level, and it makes me wonder if Image has seen the same fate. If I had younger children and the school were to continue to dumb it down, I would certainly be pulling them from the district. I truly feel every human being should be treated with dignity and respect from conception to natural death, actually. And so every student should be and deserves to be treated with dignity. That being said, I need to make a point. Do you know that gender dysphoria is a mental illness in the same family as anorexia and bulimia? Both are types of body dysphoria. Last time I checked, we don't tell the individuals struggling with these diseases that they are right. They're fat, they shouldn't eat, or they should purge, do we? So why do we participate with mentally ill students struggling with gender dysphoria? Why should my child be asked for her preferred pronoun when she's not gender confused? If the school feels the administration, teachers need to participate in this, that is their choice, but my child should not have to participate. Loving and treating with dignity does not equal agreeing with and going along. I would argue it is more loving to get the students some help. A DEI from a neighboring district had an infographic about how the alphabet and gender dysphoric kids have higher suicide rates. That is because they need mental help. It is much more loving to get them the help they need and find the root cause of the issue so they can try to solve it and prevent them from becoming a statistic than it is to call them by a different pronoun and participate in other ways. March 19th, I received an email from Dr. Merkel telling me about a well-being survey that was being administered to the junior class. The email mentioned the word diversity when describing the survey, an immediate red flag for me. At the bottom, if any parents actually read that far, you could choose to opt your child out. How is a parent supposed to make an informed decision about whether or not a child should take a survey if you don't attach the damn survey? My guess is because if the parents clicked on the survey and saw the first 8 questions, there would have been an outrage. Dr. Merkel did not know how the survey would be administered or how my child would be opted out, just that she would be if I chose to opt her out. So then I emailed Mr. Langto and he told me if my child got the survey, she just didn't have to fill it out. And I replied, that's not the same as opting out. I want her to not to receive it at all. As my husband and I did read the questions after Dr. Merkel provided them upon our request, we reached out to the Kent Intermediate Superintendent Association head, as it was the body that created the survey. He replied that he was not familiar with critical race theory and that there have been no discussions of it in the development of the survey. How would he know that if he doesn't know what critical race theory is? As the head of a superintendent organization, I think he should. So is he lying, incompetent, both? In case you don't have a junior or didn't ask to see the survey, I will share with you the first few questions. How often do students at your school have honest conversations with each other about race? How often are you encouraged to think more deeply about race-related topics with other students at your school? How often does your school help students speak out about racism? A, I'm not sure why these are necessary to learn math, English, or science. B, I don't care for my children to take their moral cues from people that think BLM riots were peaceful protests. Now, the survey gets really good. Please indicate your level of agreement with the following. Gender diversity is reflected in the classroom content. Sexual identity diversity is reflected. Racial ethnic diversity is reflected. People with disabilities are reflected. Diverse faith and religious communities are reflected. Why is sexual diversity needed in classroom content to teach math, English, science, or history? How often do you have classes with students that are different racial, ethnic, or cultural backgrounds? Are you planning to recruit students to adjust the diversity of the high school if the survey results determine that the local populace isn't diverse enough? How about teachers remember that they are the secondary teachers of the children and the parents are the primary teachers? It is their job to teach the subject content and leave the political commentary at home. Why does a Spanish teacher have an environmental activism in her curriculum? The Director of Equality and Inclusion is a position is a hard no. How about we spend the money on social workers to actually help the kids that need it, no matter their race, color, or religion? And ditch the virtue signaling Marxist propaganda that this position will inevitably work into the curriculum when the teachers have already implemented more than enough of their own. If this position is hired, my husband and I will be reconsidering whether our fourth child will be graduating from Grandville. I will also push for support and advocate for the recall of at least one of the board members. Requiring the COVID shot, masks, and testing to attend school in person and or play sports will also negatively affect our decision. In case you have been living under a rock or not aware, vaccine and COVID shot manufacturers had zero liability, none. As employers that demand employees get the COVID shot are now on the hook for a work-related injury if there is an adverse reaction. Is the Grandville Academic Team Boosters going to take responsibility for pushing the vaccine on the robodogs to be able to travel? Is the school going to take responsibility for adverse reaction if they are even thinking about going to require the shots to go maskless in the fall?
What about in 10 years when all our children are infertile? Who's going to pay for that?
Thank you, Brenda. Kim Moore.
Good evening. My name is Kim Boer. My address is 4473 Jacob Street. And I'm here along with many others here tonight to ask that you consider tabling the DEI topic or at least the hiring until you do hear more of us. They're right. We didn't get surveys. We didn't get to input this. We want to support you as a board and the administration, but we can tell you I can only speak from my personal experiences. My child had some struggles. He had an IEP, a legal document describing what accommodations he was to have. These accommodations were ignored. The staff over him had not even read his file. They just knew there was accommodations written. He no longer trusts teachers and in authority over him. We talk about diversity, and I absolutely agree. I know that staff is trained in that topic, and I think it's important, but it should come from our families. You need to get the community involved in this. I have done research. Some of these criticisms where we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know the other side of this. I did research. I went to Kennewa Hills and looked at their DEI program, and I found that they published to our children, to their children, newsletters that said certain races are fine to make friends with each other, but white children don't. White children don't make race friendships. I'm sorry, I'm offended by that. I live on a road. My neighborhood is filled with, we have Vietnamese, we have kids from Singapore, Myanmar, we have African-American, we have white, we have Christian, we have non-Christian. And those kids grew up together and they play very well together. They respect one another. I'm just really disappointed that this is our priority to spend our funds. And I agree with the comments that have been set up here. If we have $130,000 to $150,000 sitting around, I know our social workers are maxed to the hilt. We've had conversations with them trying to get our kids help. That should be where our focus is. They're all trained to help with this diversity already, but they wouldn't be excluding by race. And I think that it's a disservice to our children to eliminate that whole 70% of the population of Grandville students. Let's help all of our kids. We want to support you. My summary would be let's focus on the social worker side of it, spending some more funds in that topic, and helping all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Grant Alexander.
Hello, my name is Grant Alexander. My address is 955 Jackson Street in Grandville. Before I start, I just want to say to the student that was up here before me, it's unacceptable. It's my kids doing it. I want to know And that's not acceptable on any part. So when you hear some of the things us adults are concerned with, we want to know that you are appreciated. You deserve to be here just like anybody else. But I am here to discuss my concerns with that position. First off, I applaud you with the title. I mean, how can anybody with a heart be against diversity, inclusion, and justice? But over the last 3 years, and especially over the last 12 months, we've seen what these platforms, these positions really stand for and what they ultimately become. I feel like when we speak to the board, we're speaking to the Kent County Health Department, where we're just asking, give me the data. And we fail to get it every time. If there's issues within our community, in our school district, just show us. Show us that there's an issue that needs to be addressed. Show us the data. We will support you if there is, but we do believe there is checks and balances that need to take place. Why are we so skeptical about this position? We've seen clever ways that political agendas have hijacked issues that the community overall supports. Then they water it down with their own personal beliefs that is not overall supported by the community. And when you are against those beliefs, you are labeled a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and the list goes on. And it used to be super hurtful to be called a racist, but not anymore, because the label that you put on me is not who I am. I know I care about people that are different than me, and you guys don't get to decide that. Part of the job description is to teach empathy. And I find it very hypocritical because no one seems to be looking at our point of view on this. Imagine sending your kid to school and a teacher feels they need to correct what they consider bad parenting. And they tell them that their homosexual parents are mentally ill, or that their Buddhist uncle is going to hell. I imagine that most of you would be up in arms, and probably rightfully so. It's a very slippery slope when you let the public school system determine what is good parenting and bad parenting. The majority of the people in this country, I believe, are really caring people. And the majority of the people in this community are good parents. And the policies and procedures that you're putting in place are making us feel that you think we are not. Give help to those that are struggling. Give opportunity to those that are in need and those that seek it. But suggesting to any child that their successes and failures in life are predetermined by the color of their skin is evil. You are not saving anybody by putting this position in place without first seeking a consulting position that's going to tell us we have a problem and then coming to us in the community and telling us what that problem is. The biggest concern I have is that there is no oversight. You put this position in place. The reason why you have an uproar now, you put this position in place, it's there for decades, and there's no stopping it. There's no checks and balances. And the moment I have an issue is when a faculty member feels that they need to correct bad parenting. You need to protect the right for a parent to decide to raise their kids with the morals and beliefs that they see fit. I'm not sure if this is a badge of honor that the board is trying to wear, passing this, saying, look at us, look what we've done, look what we've passed. But I promise you, if you pass this position now without putting it to a table and having some changes to it, that you will be wearing a badge of division in this community. Ms. Butt, you seem like a really nice lady, but I promise you, If you vote for this position now and put it in place before we can actually have a real discussion on this, you will be the one responsible for division in this community. And you will be responsible for parents ripping their kids out of the public school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Jeff Johnston.
Good evening, members of the school board, Superintendent Arup, fellow Grandville school parents, and neighbors in the community. My name is Jeff Johnston. My address is 4651 Treasure Trail. I'm the father of 2 current Grandville students and 1 graduate, class of 2018. Every one of us here tonight shares an interest in Grandville Public Schools and its mission to improve lives by producing successful lifelong learners. Our school district affirms certain beliefs, including these. Each person is unique, and we value and respect individual differences. We are responsible for equipping all students with life skills. We are accountable to all constituencies. Our graduates will have the skills to be responsible, contributing citizens in a changing world. Before we consider that changing world, let's look closer at Grandville. Our community is about 86% white. Statistically, more than 95% of residents identify as straight and gender conforming. More than 97% are citizens. 95% were born in the US. More than 93% are above the federal poverty line. More than 95% of those under age 18 have no disabilities. In this context, what does it mean to support all students, all constituencies? It means valuing the 280 or so of Grandville's 5,600 students who are or will grow to become lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. It means being accountable to the 375 who live in poverty and the 280 who have a disability. It means respecting the more than 1,000 who are Black, Hispanic, Asian, or otherwise non-white. To my neighbors here, my white, straight, non-disabled, non-poor, non-immigrant neighbors, if you believe we already do a great job of supporting all students in all constituencies, I respectfully ask, how would you know? I submit that this is a time to listen, not lecture, to demonstrate the rare virtue of humility. Along with our students, we in the majority have an opportunity to learn from the diverse individuals around us, rather than imagine we know best. Hiring a diversity, equity, and inclusion director is grounded in that humility and in a perpetual hope that we'll do better tomorrow than today. It's an acknowledgement that living up to our stated beliefs and educational mission will require real effort. It's a commitment to the principle that the majority voice is not always the best voice and must never be the only voice. And this is where we align with the goal of graduating students to be responsible, contributing citizens in a changing world. An education that stifles rather than celebrates diverse voices, shrinks rather than expands our students' view of that world. But the world is far larger and vastly more diverse than Grandville, Michigan. And every one of our students must be prepared to navigate it successfully. To anyone undecided on hiring a director of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think there are a few undecided people here tonight. I hope I've given you food for thought. but I have not presented the most compelling argument in support. The strongest argument in support comes from those stepping up here in opposition. People who represent overwhelming demographic majorities and insist that it's wrong to amplify minority voices. They demonstrate more powerfully than I ever could the need for a diversity director who can represent, champion, and defend students. Students who are among our most vulnerable yet valuable. Such a person will move Grandville Public Schools in a positive direction toward meeting its mission and living out its beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Adam Bush.
My name is Adam Bush, and I have 3 kids that attend Grandville Public Schools. I'd like to address something near and dear to my heart, mask mandates. Now, I know that the state mask mandates were lifted a bit last week, especially for the vaccinated population, but it's still not enough in my opinion, and I'm very concerned about what next fall will be like for our in-person students. I'm not here to convince you about how ridiculous or ineffective masks are for healthy asymptomatic people, or how harmful they are for the person wearing it for hours at a time. You probably all feel strongly as I do, one way or another. I'm here to talk about how unnecessary and unwanted these masks are for our in-person students. We've learned a lot in the last year. We've learned that quarantining contact trace students was quite unnecessary. We've learned that asymptomatic spread is not very common. And we've learned that children especially are at very low risk for contracting or spreading the virus. Believe what you want to believe about reduced oxygen and excessive CO2 when it comes to wearing a mask. I personally believe it does both. But you cannot argue that masks don't make breathing more difficult. Go try running a 5K with one on if you don't agree. And you cannot argue that at least some of the air you're breathing in includes some of the air that is still trapped inside your mask from your last exhale. Stuffy, stale air, rich in CO2. Buildings like this have massive air conditioners, not just to control the temperature, but also to pump in fresh, clean air, because fresh, clean air is good for the body. Buildings like this without nice big air conditioners often have poor air quality, which can lead to sick building syndrome, which can lead to some major respiratory and neurological problems for the occupants of that building. These masks are creating that same poor air quality for these students, and it's right in front of their faces. I wanted to focus solely on mask mandates today. I didn't want to talk about vaccines, but it's hard not to because they are so interwoven. And I don't want to offend anyone. I know at least a few people here have gotten the jab, including some of my friends, and I wish them all the best. But the fear campaign that we've been experiencing has been very effective at scaring people into submission. And that is exactly what is behind all of these insane COVID restrictions and mandates. And now that the vaccine campaign is in full swing, you can't go 5 minutes without seeing or hearing commercial for them. Get your free vax here. Comes with free fries, free prom, free donuts. We'll give you $100. All in an effort to sell the supposedly very safe and effective vaccine that will allow everyone to get back to normal. Thanks, Gretch. What they fail to mention is that more people have already died from this vaccine than from 20 years of all the other US vaccines combined, or that countless others have had horrible reactions to this vaccine. And I'm not just talking about a sore arm or low-grade fever the next day. But alas, I'm not here to talk about how unsafe and ineffective these COVID vaccines are. My point is that there are plenty of people concerned about what I just said and will not be getting themselves or their children vaccinated. And now that vaccine passports aren't just a conspiracy theory anymore, I'm very concerned. It's very concerning to those of us choosing not to be part of this grand experiment. So what is Grandville Schools planning to do next fall? No masks required, but for vaccinated students only? Get out of here, you anti-vaxxers, and take your cooties with you. Meanwhile, fully vaccinated people are now allowed to go maskless in public, even though they are still fully capable of contracting and spreading the virus. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they should have to wear masks as long as they're healthy and asymptomatic. But that applies to both vaccinated and unvaccinated folks. Anyone unhealthy or symptomatic, if they have a cough and cold symptom, stay home. That's what we've done for the last year. That is what has helped control the spread of any illness that has occurred, not these masks. Common sense and common courtesy go a long ways. Before COVID, kids were sent to school sick all the time with low-grade fevers and cold symptoms, and they shared with all their classmates. People are much more conscious about all of this now, and it's more acceptable and technically possible to stay home and attend school virtually if they don't feel well. School board members, we are all on the same team, but you are not appointed by the state. You are elected by us to represent us, to manage this school district to the best of your ability. We expect you to make smart choices, use sound judgment, and always do what's right for our kids. And that may occasionally mean going against ridiculous and overbearing state mandates and guidelines. I'm not alone in this thinking. Many parents in this room also do not want masks on their kids at school. At the very least, you need to make them optional. But if you know already that isn't going to happen, please let me know so that I can start making other arrangements for this fall. I personally know of multiple families who are already planning to homeschool or switch to private school next year simply due to the mask mandates that they suspect will still be in place for their unvaccinated kids. I've heard it said your hands are tied. You have to follow the state mandates. But board members, you need to push back. You need to fight for us and our kids. You need to do the right thing. A lot of people in this room need you to do the right thing for our kids. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Adam. And Kendra Kopek.
There we go. Hi, I'm Kendra Kopek. I am a parent of 2 kids in this district. I have 2 boys. One is a 4th grader and one is a 1st grader. I have also been a teacher for the district and a GEA member for 15 years. I am here to speak in complete support of the new position of Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Frankly, I don't understand why anyone would not support a position that helps us strive to be more accepting of diverse populations, be inclusive of all students, as well as make sure our education of young people is equitable. As a teacher, it is my job to make sure that first, all of my students are safe. And next, that all of my students are fully supported in all aspects of their education. There are times when some of these supports can be inadvertently overlooked. As humans, we all need to strive to learn more and to be held accountable. Throughout my 15 years of teaching for Grandville Public Schools, sorry, this is very picky. I have had the opportunity to teach with so many students with so many differences. Students with 2 moms, students with just 1 parent, students who have had a parent pass, students of many different racial and cultural backgrounds, students who were fostered, students of adoption, and students with different religious beliefs. And through all of this, I teach. Sometimes I get stuck and I'm not sure how to approach sticky subjects with these differences. And so I look outward for help to try to solve them. With the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I could utilize this person as a resource for those times that I'm just not sure how to proceed. Guessing and just figuring it out isn't good enough when it comes to educating our young people and guiding them through this tough stuff. If we know better, we do better. We are purposeful in our academic curriculum, and we need to be purposeful in these often delicate topics too. This is a position that will enhance our district and the community at large. All students of diverse backgrounds, cultures, sexual orientations, religions, and family compositions need to feel accepted and included. We are a public school system. It is our job to educate everyone. As adults, we don't get to decide if students feel uncomfortable, misunderstood, or unaccepted. We instead need to validate their feelings and then work to try to support them. A director of DEI could help to make sure that these students are heard as well as feel accepted and supported. Being a mom, it is my job to make sure that my own boys are safe and feel included. My husband is biracial. My 2 boys are also multiracial. I don't get to say how any of my 3 boys feel when it comes to their race. I often think about if I was the person not being included because of the color of my skin or academic ability, or if my children ever felt that way, and it tears me up. I know that there will come a time when it will happen, possibly at school, and I want to know that our school system is up for it. Even being a part of a multiracial family, I still have much to learn. I know that I have my own unconscious bias, as many of us do, whether we realize it or not. The Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion position will directly support our continued work as GEA, as educators, and really just as humans to help make our world a little more accepting of all people, especially as we are cultivating our children, our future, to head out into a very diverse world. Our district has a long way to go. Our community has a long way to go. And our nation has a long way to go when it comes to race, equity, and inclusion. It can start here in our school district and our community with this new director position. One last thing. On another note, I would like to personally thank the district administration and the board for following the Kent County Health Department stance on masking. In all my years of teaching, I have never had so few students. In all my years of teaching, I have never had so few students absent from being sick. Masks work. And
Let's be respectful.
quiet. And our students are amazing at wearing them. Contrary to popular belief, the students don't complain about them and they wear them appropriately.
She gets more.
The students don't complain about them and they wear them appropriately. And
How'd you like that?
Okay. Wrap it up.
thank you.
Kendra.
I'm trying.
Okay.
And it's working to keep our kids safe. So thank you. And thank you for the work you do on behalf of our students.
Thank you, Kendra. All right, if everyone could just give folks a chance to speak. Ashley Zeiderveen. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, my name is Ashley Zeiderby. I live at 3754 Socorro Drive. I'll be honest, I'm a recovering placater pacifist. I've spent a large amount of my life trying to avoid confrontation. You see, I don't like when people are at odds, when relationships appear to be or are broken. I especially have a hard time when people's anger or disregard are directed at me. Deep down, I like being liked. I like being respected and taken seriously. Living in a space of neutrality has saved me from the heartache of having to be less than to anyone. But like I previously mentioned, I'm recovering. I'm here today to speak up, to share my thoughts and beliefs, regardless of the amount of people in the room that I might be in disaccord with because of it. I understand that some or many are here to show disapproval or anger over some decisions that have been made or may be made by the board and district. And while I don't understand or support their disapproval or anger, I see it. I acknowledge it. I simply ask for the same acknowledgement for me and those who may think like me. My hope is that in speaking tonight, I invite people in instead of calling them out, despite my own anger. I myself am a product of this community. I was raised in this town and school district and I have made my home here with my family and friends. Both of my kids are Grandville students, and in full transparency, I'm also a teacher in the district. I am truly proud to be a Grandville Bulldog. I grew up proud of our past, our history and traditions. We are a district with strong academics and athletics, respected throughout West Michigan. But what felt most special about Grandville growing up was this palpable sense of community, a kinship of sorts to each other. People in Grandville seem to love the people of Grandville. However, as I've grown older and perhaps a bit wiser in the ways of the world, I question whether that feeling of kinship I felt was born out of true community or if it was nothing more than a privileged result of our similarities and sameness. Are we a community that loves all of our members, or are we a community that is stratified in its love and acceptance? I am proud to know that our little community has attracted and birthed a more diverse population than we've ever known, politically, racially, and culturally. People seek out our community, seek out our school district. People want to be a part of what we have going on here. I'm proud that we are seeking ways as a district to include everyone, to teach everyone, to love everyone, in a way that says we will grow and change because of what you offer, not just we'll tolerate you being here. And that's really all I wanted to speak on this evening. Love. I know there may be community members that disagree with me, that things can't be as black and white simple as choosing love and community, but I think it could be if that's what we choose. I love the kids of this community that show up through my door at school and through my door at home. I want the best for all of them. I don't think you'd meet many teachers who wouldn't agree with me. We don't do what we do because it's easy or because it makes us rich or because it makes us popular or respected. We do it because we love kids. We love seeing them grow into themselves, into their ways of being in the world. We see it as a privilege to walk this walk with our kids every day. They show us consistently what it means to try something new, take risks, and build new ways of thinking and being. They are Grandville to me, every single one of them. So when some in the community voice their concerns over hiring a diversity, equity, and inclusion director for the district by saying things like, we don't have a race problem here, or they're going to fill our kids' heads with critical race theory, or next thing you know, we'll have to let anybody into any bathroom they want. To me, these things sound fearful. When someone says we don't have a race problem here, I hear someone who is afraid to acknowledge that we might have to confront some difficult truths about our community and its homogeneous nature for generations. When someone says they're going to fill our kids' heads with CRT, I hear someone who is afraid to admit that all of us, and I do mean all of us, live our everyday existence as a result of racial systems that none of us could control until this moment. When someone says, next thing you know, we'll have to let anybody into any bathroom they want, I hear someone who is afraid to acknowledge someone else's identity as anything other than predatory and disgusting. The fear of difference is real. But what if we allowed our love of our community, and more importantly, the people in it, all of the people in it, to be stronger than our fear? I'm here to speak in support of the new DEI position and my faith in the work of the district and its staff to strive towards inclusion, towards love. Love and faith. These are two practices I've always considered staples of our community. That is what I'm humbly asking of our community and board as we as a district move forward in continuing the work of educating each and every child that comes through our doors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Jacqueline Pullman.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Pullman. I'm the mother of 2 students in the district. an 8th grader named Max, and a coming 2nd grader named Claire. I first want to express my gratitude to the entire board and the Grandville staff for your grace and composure during what has been a truly unique and challenging school year. Is that something we can all agree on? Hopefully. Like I'm guessing a lot of you here, I grew up and went to a little school system down the road called Jennison in the 1990s. And my primary and secondary education, and also my post-secondary education, 99.9% of my peers were of my same identity as white, heterosexual, Christian makeup. I had no friends that identified as anything but. Amazingly, it took me till my mid-30s that I made a friend who didn't look like me. And I remember going to her birthday party and being the only person there who wasn't Black. And it made me extremely uncomfortable. And then I realized that that is what this friend of mine feels like every single day, because she was the only Black friend in our group of friends. Now as a parent, thankfully, things are a little differently. Half my children's friends are of a different racial, ethnic, or gender makeup than what they are. My partner has a child that identifies as non-binary. I am pleased to see them growing up with better experiences than what I had, but I know that Grandville still has a long ways to go. It's because of their future that I want to express my support for Grandville hiring a DEI director for our students. While those opposing this position will argue that this should be taught in the home, I don't necessarily argue with that, but as a single mom and as someone who has kids with parents that are not there for whatever reason, they may be gone, they may be working, they may be deceased, they may be divorced and only have one parent. We simply do not often have the resources to give our children the education that they deserve in this endeavor. I would rather my children get this education from school than risk them not getting it at all. And furthermore, as someone who has close family members that have passed away from COVID, I also want to express my gratitude to Grandville staff and board for continuing to require masks of all students this school year. I believe that the policies and recommendations put in place by our school system are the right approach. And I'm proud to be a mom in a district with leadership that strives to provide an inclusive, safe, and productive learning environment for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Amy Bailey.
Hello, my name is Amy Bailey, and I will be reading my comments tonight to remain respectful of time. Those who know me know that I'm a chatter, so you're welcome. I also printed copies for the board. I believe I can provide those. Is my understanding? I have 2 students attending Grandville Public Schools in 5th and 7th grade. I am not only a parent in this community, I'm also a clinical therapist and a child welfare social worker of 20 years. It is with all of these roles that I share my public comments this evening. I fully support the hiring of a DEI director in the Grandville Public School District for many reasons, and I'm here to request that the school board moves forward with this with tenacity in filling this role. My reasons for this support are as follows. First and foremost, I want every child in this city to feel valued and seen when they enter into any school building in Grandville. Having a person in the district whose primary focus is on this will allow no child to become invisible. I want our school buildings to be safe spaces for each child where they can grow, learn, and be valued members of our community. Second, from a clinical standpoint, all children in the district will benefit from an intentional exposure to diversity within the schools. There is a significant amount of research supporting positive emotional and social development for children who experience diversity within their learning spaces specifically. One can find clinical studies simply by utilizing Google searches, so I will not go into depth citing those tonight in an effort to respect everyone's time and intellect. I will share, however, that research indicates that these developmental benefits come from things such as having diversity in curriculum, teachers and staff, diversity in visual cues, etc. Of note, these are some of the precise areas which would be the focus of the DEI director role, according to the job post. In regards to curriculum in particular, I have heard some concern raised by people in the community and this evening over particular curriculums that may be utilized, and would just note that adding this DEI role would not automatically change any curriculum for our children. Humbly, I would also highlight that if we as parents read each piece of the curriculum that our children are currently learning, it is likely that there are already many things within the content that we do not agree with or that are not in line with our personally held beliefs and values. Common Core, am I right? Which brings me to my third point. Third, one of my primary hopes for my children's education in Grandville Public Schools is that they're able to become strong critical thinkers as adults. I do not agree with every belief or value system of every person that has or will teach my children. I do not agree with many of the beliefs of others in this room, nor of course will they agree with mine. I may not agree with the beliefs of the specific DEI director that's hired. However, what I am confident in is that my children will benefit either way from this role being fully funded and filled by the district, because it is through engaging with diverse thoughts and ideas that one enters into deep learning about one's own values. I want this for my children. Lastly, having exposure to a variety of beliefs, values, cultures, races, and dialogues will offer an opportunity for my children and yours to engage in conversations that will allow them to better navigate a variety of situations in their future college and professional endeavors. Though Grandville is small, the world is wide, and I pray their education here gives them a foundation to move comfortably throughout the world with diverse individuals that they will encounter. To do so, I believe that having staff that are specifically dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion within Grandville academia is imperative for the well-being of our children and community. And though it's not at the end, I would add, as a social worker, I would happily give up my space in the school district as a social worker to a DEI director. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Ryan Zeiderveen. What happened? Okay. All right, well, that concludes all the papers that I have. And again, I want to thank everyone for the comments. And obviously, we're a district that does appreciate everybody's input and comments. Everybody is valued in this district. And each and every one of us is valued too. We all had children that went to the school and still live in the school district, and people that moved back to put their kids in the district. So again, thank you. And I know that Roger is going to go first in our reports agenda. So thank you, Roger. Okay.
We need to approve the agenda first. We're passing it. Why don't we do that quickly?
Oh, yeah.
Sound good?
Just that.
Raj?
We are going
Could
to
you just
approve
give us
the
1
agenda.
minute, please?
Okay, so.
Support.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Reports. Thank you, Roger.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much for the comments. Thank you for being here. I truly respect what each and every one of you has to say. Whether I agree, disagree, doesn't matter. We're all here for the same reason. We're here for our kids. We want what's best for our kids. One thing I want to apologize for in this world of COVID has thrown us for a loop without question. We've had to deal with things we've never had to deal with. And I can tell you our teachers, our staff have done just an amazing job. Our parents have done just an incredible job. And probably most importantly, our kids have done such a fabulous job. So if we can all just really give everybody a hand, because I tell you, it's been a journey. I am one more than anything. I want to take this doggone thing and throw it in the garbage, and I can't wait till the time. I'm telling you, and we will. It'll be coming up. So I want to apologize because in this world of COVID, this presentation should have happened a while ago, and it did not happen. And I'm going to take full responsibility for that because we've been talking about this for about 3 years. And I want to give you a little background. I know it's kind of backwards. Everybody is assuming what they think this is, but you really don't know. You really don't know what we're trying to do. And I want to try to shed some light on that. I want to make sure that people understand, want to make sure that people have a voice in what we're doing. So I want to go ahead and give you some information on this. So starting out, my purpose, provide you an understanding of the work that's part of Grandville Public Schools and diversity, equity, inclusion. How did we get to today? How did we get to this point? I want to provide some data. I hear people saying, you know, show us the data, show us what you have. I'm going to show you some data that drives the work, including what our kids think. I'm going to show you some samples, and as much as some of the samples I celebrate, some of them are a punch to the gut, and we've got to do something about them. Define what diversity, equity, inclusion means in Grandville Public Schools. Diversity, equity, and inclusion mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. Just listening here today, there's so many thought processes on what those are and where somebody might head with that. So I want to define what we as Grandville Public Schools have determined are diversity, equity, and inclusion. Define our role or vision as a school system in the world in which we live. Crazy world that it is. But you know, we need to have a vision for where we're going with our kids. Our kids need us more than ever. All of our kids need us more than ever. And of course, want to define the role of the director position, what it is and what it isn't. I heard a lot tonight about what people think it might be. I want to make sure you understand from our point of view, what is it really? What are we trying to accomplish? And also, what are we not willing to try? Okay. I want to share this with you because this is the voice of Grandville Public Schools. This is our community as a whole. This is our, we did a survey, you may recall, last fall. And some of the things on there talked about our values, talked about our beliefs, and talked about when kids leave us, what do we want them to have? What do we want them to possess? This was given three separate surveys, a separate one for parents, one for our students, and one for our staff. And these are the things, and by the way, this is the first look of this that we've actually shown out here. The board has done a significant amount of work with it. We gathered the data, analyzed the data, had a lot of discussion around it. But I want to point out some pieces on here. One of the values, diversity, recognizing and valuing diversity in all people. Another value, equity, giving every student the support they need when they need it. Notice every student. When you look at beliefs, in the value of inclusion of all individuals. And when kids leave us, and Lord, I'm experiencing this right now with my kid. My kid graduated from college. He's about 2 years out, just moved to the Cleveland area. Culturally competent citizens who understand and respect diverse populations. I gotta believe when you look at these four things, there isn't anything that's mentioned in those four things that a person in this room doesn't believe in, doesn't agree with in regards of what we want for our kids. I know as a fact, our whole community, our parents, our kids, and our staff had these same similarities when they took the survey. So knowing that, and I'm going to talk more about these in a little bit about Grandville in detail, but this is what we talk about with diversity, equity, inclusion, and one of those things being culturally competent citizens. It doesn't say you have to agree with what people believe. It just says that you are aware, that you are accepting, that you are honoring or valuing people, but you don't have to agree, just like we don't agree in this room. Heard some statistics earlier, a few more for you. We have over 5,600 kids. I call them scholars sometimes. I'm trying to call them scholars more because students don't sound like, the word student doesn't sound like It sounds like a kid's going to be something. A scholar is, we know all kids are scholars. There's something right now. And so I'm going to work hard at that one. That's one of my things. Over 30 languages. When I got here 6 years ago, we were in the low 20s in free and reduced lunch. We're now 35%. You can see some of the makeup, 4.3 African-American, 3.3 Asian, Pacific Islander, 12.3 Hispanic, Latinx, 6.3 multi-race, 73.8% white. So where have we been? As I mentioned, we've been on this journey. COVID got in the way. I just want to talk a little bit about that. It all started summer of 2018-19 school year. We were looking at our academic data and we noticed some gaps in achievement, some significant gaps in achievement. And those are presented at our district school improvement team, which is made up of staff of teachers, administrators, support staff, parents, et cetera. And then in the fall of 2019, as we looked at that, we said, we've got to do something. We've got to look at this and we've got to figure some things out. How do we take a look at our students with disabilities, our students in poverty, and our students in color and the gaps we're seeing, and how do we address those gaps? Merrick Foster. We had ongoing learning together, discussions. We looked at our data, analyzed our data. We talked about various strategies, tools, and so on. Why did we start with our administrative team? Well, if you can't lead people, you can't lead a building, or you can't expect your principals to understand some of those things, some of those gaps and what to do, then it's going to be hard to move forward. So we started there. And then we did an update for the board, and then COVID hit. And then in the fall 2020, one of our goals that we had established when meeting with Eric was implementation of a diversity, equity, inclusion committee, had students on it, parents, and staff. And we've been meeting this year on an average of once a month. And then in the spring 2021, we had the posting of the DEI director job. Now, I will admit, wasn't great timing, horrible timing, right? It needed more dialogue. It needed more to happen. And I don't want to make excuses. I just know that, we were turned upside down. We should have had more dialogue, should have had more discussions with it. But now here we are, and we are having more discussion. In the spring of 2021, as mentioned, we had a student well-being survey from KISA, that's the Superintendent's Association of Kent County, to gather some data and look at student voice. And it was regarding coming out of this COVID experience we've been in. We really were interested to see where kids were at. There were significant events that had happened in our world as well. And we just wanted to really target where are kids with a variety of things. So you saw many topics that were there. So that's a little background. When you look at our demographic achievement data, as mentioned earlier by someone, we take great pride. We're a high performing district. I mean, every year we're looked at as one of the top districts in our state. We are looked at as a top district in the nation. I always get these offers on emails for plaques and all this good stuff for our district. There's just so many accolades that we have. You do a fabulous job, you parents. You do a fabulous job with our kids. Teachers, you do an incredible job with our kids. We know that our kids have a great work ethic. We know that our kids know the importance of right and wrong, the importance of a good education, and it shows. We have proven that we're here academically for kids, but yes, we do have to be here socially, emotionally for kids. To say that we can only focus on academics when we know if a kid walks through our doors and they don't feel valued, they don't feel like they belong, that their academic performance is going to significantly drop. we have to address those things. And most would say we have to address those first. So as I mentioned, our data shows opportunity gaps between our students, demonstrating our high expectations, and we'll never give in to those high, we will not lower those high expectations. And our students in poverty, our students with disabilities, and students of color. And if we're truly about high levels of learning for every student, we have to answer why. We have to try to find out why. I'm going to show you a little bit of data. And this was that first data that we looked at. If you look, I used a couple samples, M-STEP grades 3 through 7, English language arts. You can see 2014, 15, 18, 19. We know everything else after that's been messed up with COVID and so on as far as that assessment goes. But if you take a look at that, low income, SW, students with disabilities, African-American students, ELL, you can see there are some gaps there, and those do cause concern. You look at SAT, grade 11 in math, again, very similar gaps. Now, it'd be very easy for me to stand up here and say, well, but everyone else shows the same gaps. That's not good enough for us. That's not good enough for our kids, and it's not good enough for Grandville. So we have to look, if we're about high levels of learning for all, we cannot just sit by and say that that's okay. I want to talk a little bit more about the student engagement survey. Why does that matter? Engaged students 2.5 times more likely to say that they do well in school, and 4.5 times more likely to be hopeful about the future. So if we can get kids engaged, if we can get them interested in what's going on, and we can get them involved not only in the academic side of things, but the activities that we have, we know the chances are they're going to be quite successful. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We must prepare our students to succeed in an increasingly diverse world. Less than half the children, this is a Brookings research, under 15 in the US are white today. Think about that. Half of children under 15 in the US are white today. We do not want to wait to have our kids figure out how they get along with people, how they understand other kids, and then social emotional learning. We all know the impact COVID has had on that. We know social emotional learning builds characteristics, values, and mindsets. I'm going to show you some data. I'm going to show you some of the student well-being data. Some of it, I'm just showing you to give you a little feel for what our kids are telling us. Part of it, as I mentioned, is definitely worth celebrating. And then I'm going to show you a few pieces that I believe we need to be concerned about. And with a position like this, we need to really look at doing something with. So you heard a couple of those questions. How fairly do students at your school treat people from different races, ethnicities, or cultures? You can see the scale that's here. Overall, somewhat to, heading towards quite is what our kids are telling us there. And again, remember that engagement part, and remember that part about diversity. How fairly do adults at your school treat people from different races, ethnicities, or cultures? You can see there again, gaining from somewhat to quite. Again, gives you big picture information. When you're feeling pressured, how easy is it for you to stay in control? Right now, that's a challenge for everybody. Kids, adults alike, I would agree with that. It's a challenge. You can see, right around the somewhat range, pretty much for everyone there. How well do people in your school feel about you as a person? Again, there's things there. Somewhat, I think they feel somewhat understanding, somewhat where I'm at. How connected do you feel to students in your school? And again, here's some more data on that.
And then how respectful are teachers towards you? Very, very proud of that. I'm very proud that our kids think that our teachers are respectful. Says a lot. And then I want to share some other pieces with you here. These are definitely celebrations, and there are many of these, I'll tell you, throughout. They had an open-ended piece at the end. And I want to read some of these because they do resonate when you read them. This is the third school I've gone to. I feel like this is the best school I've been to. That's all I have to say. That sounds like a third grader now, doesn't it? Fifth grader. I wish everyone could go to this school. It's amazing. Fifth grader. We have a very nice school that protects people from bullying. This is our chant and goes through that. 11th grader. I really like the school. I noticed that the teachers really try their hardest and they give so much of their personal time to help us learn and understand. They really are the best. They love and really care for every student. Great staff. Very, very proud of those. And there are many of them. We have a great school. Please don't ever forget that. All right, here comes the gut punch. Fifth grader, gender equality is a huge issue, racism too. Lots of people feel like they have to stay silent because of their gender, racial or ethnic background, and sexual identity. They feel like they cannot let people in, maybe not even their parents, because of the way they're treated at school. Seventh grader, school can be bad for people sometimes because it makes them want to commit suicide, just because people at this school make them feel like they're not wanted. Fifth grader, in my school, I think that people are fair, but I've been kind of teased for my beliefs, and I think we as a school, when we can, have a talk about how to respect others' race, religion, and beliefs. I've been called homophobic because I think LGBTQ plus is a poor life choice. I have no hate for them. I just do not believe in it, and I've been teased. Seventh grader. Think our school is great. Many people say rude things to kids at our school, but we're scared to tell. I have had many, many, many people this year say terrible stuff to me, but the teachers are great here. And then another one, seventh grader, you can see there. Hopefully you were able to read that. Ninth grader, Grandville is an amazing place, but there are a few things that could be better. I wish we talked more about diversity and different races more. I also wish we did more about combating and discouraging racism and bullying. I have also had two different teachers that showed their political opinions openly, even when most of what they said weren't facts and wasn't supported by evidence. Ninth grade is a minority in this school, and this school being majority Caucasians, just do better when it comes to racism, bullying. I understand that there's a pandemic, but there are other things going on in that building that staff don't see. And I got a couple more that I do want to share. Many of the students stare at me or talk about me whenever my disability shows. I have a motor verbal tic disorder, and whenever I tic, people will stare at me and sometimes even talk about it with their friends. People avoid me and treat me differently, even though I'm just a normal person. Ninth grader, you can see that one. This school needs to work on representation. Pretty much everyone. This school needs to work on being more open-minded and stop with the stereotypes and update traditions that take place in high school to make it more accepting for anyone, no matter the type of person. We need to make this a place accepting to everyone and not focus on stereotypes like cliques are popular people. You can read the rest there. So why do I share these? These aren't fun for me. I'm telling you that right now. They're very uncomfortable, and I hope they make you uncomfortable. And matter of fact, I know they do, because I know your parents who love your kids very dearly, and I know your board members who love our kids very dearly, and teachers who love our kids very dearly. So why I share these with you, our kids have it. They understand a lot more than I think sometimes we give them credit for, or maybe we just don't realize that they're really thinking about the different things that are happening with that. So I want to talk a little bit about diversity, equity, inclusion. I want to define these for you
what we believe they are in Grandville. And honestly, I would find it hard to believe any of you are going to disagree with these things. Diversity in the context we have here, a successful community in which individuals of different race, ethnicity, religious beliefs, I'd have to add disabilities in there because it bothers me every time I read this, socioeconomic status, language, geographical origin, gender and or sexual orientation, bring their different knowledge, background, experience, and interests for the benefit of the whole community. I don't see anything in there that says indoctrinate. I don't see anything in there that says change your beliefs or your values. I do see in there recognizing differences, respecting differences, understanding differences, and working together in a school system for the greater whole. So what about equity? Equity in education is providing students what they need when they need it to thrive, plain and simple. And you're right, somebody mentioned this earlier. It's not teaching what to think. You know, you have your values, your family has your values, and the what isn't what we're trying to change. It's the how. How do you go about problem solving? How do you go about having, civil discourse with other people and then walking away and going and getting a pop or something? How do you do those things? Kids just don't learn them. And I can tell you in today's day and age, they're learning from us, and it's not good. It's not that. We're slamming each other. We're calling each other labels, names, and so on. And we're getting all caught up in it. And our kids are watching. And that is not how we want our kids to go out into the world. I'm thoroughly convinced none of us want that, no matter what you believe. So what is inclusion? This is what inclusion is to us: the act of creating environments in which any individual or group can be and feel welcomed, respected, supported, and valued to fully participate. An inclusive and welcoming climate embraces differences and offers respect in words and actions for all people. I heard one of our students up here telling me that people's words and actions aren't respectful to him, and he deals with it every day. The comments that I painfully show you that we have kids that walk through our doors every single day and they don't feel that. All we're asking is, can we all work together to do everything we can to make sure every single kid, whether you agree with their beliefs or not, can feel that? Inclusive education is based on the principles and acceptance of all students. Notice it doesn't say you have to believe what they believe again. Students see themselves reflected in their curriculum, their physical surroundings, and the broader environment in which diversity is honored and all individuals are respected. And again, if it doesn't mean you're changing your curriculum, but if they can't see themselves in your curriculum, then how in the world do we ever expect them to learn? So let's talk about what this is, this director position, and what it isn't. And again, I'm very sorry that you didn't get this earlier. No, we have not hired anybody, but I want you to see what this position is and what it isn't. What it is it's grounded in systems of teaching and learning. It is all about teaching and learning. We're here, you're right, we're here to help our kids. We have high expectations for all kids. We want every single student to attain high levels of learning. And that means academically, socially, and emotionally. This person would help close the opportunity achievement gaps evident for the subgroups that I showed you. They would assist in professional learning and culturally responsive teaching. Now, what is culturally responsive teaching? I want to tell you that because I also know that there are many definitions of culture. Be careful, they're going to do this culturally responsive teaching thing. I want you to look at what these things are. And again, if you disagree with them, we'll have some discussion.
but let's have the discussion on them before we assume that they are what they're not. Culturally responsive teaching, using students' cultural experiences in daily instruction. 30 languages example I'm going to use. Imagine having a student from Bosnia come over, a refugee from Bosnia, and is placed in your classroom. You know nothing about that student. You know nothing about their culture. You probably have a hard time communicating with their family. You have a hard time understanding if anything that you're currently doing might be an obstacle for that student. You have no idea. What do you do? I heard one of our teachers say, you know, you look for help. You're looking for help. Wouldn't it be great to have a champion that could help you with that, that could learn more about that, gather resources, strategies, tools for your toolbox, that could check with some other districts who might have Bosnian students and say, hey, what are you guys doing? We need help. And really work together. Somebody that could meet with the family, somebody that could have, you know, really try to get a bigger picture for that teacher. Number two, embracing native language in students' families as assets, not as a liability. There are many times I write a newsletter and I send it out and I go, doggone it, I forgot to translate it. Happens all the time. When you have somebody that's looking through that lens, they'll be able to help all of us ensure we are looking through that lens. Creating a classroom environment that represents and respects all students. Fair enough. Communicating clear, high expectations for everyone. I will tell you, I have read Christopher Rufo's information, and I know a lot of the pieces that he talks about with critical race theory and how critical race theory is bad. And I can tell you one of the main things he says to look for is, are there high expectations still or not? There are high expectations. Communicating those, being very clear about those is very important. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Relationships mean so much. But if you don't understand, say the Bosnian student, you don't know anything about them and you want to build a relationship, you've got to have some things you can connect with. So this person could help with those types of things. And bridge the gap evident with populations of kids and their connection to the school environment. You saw the comments. Looking at our systems, policies, and practices through an equity lens. And I say this because Angie Thornburg is our special education director. And every time we talk about some kind of an initiative to do, Angie always looks at it through the lens of a student with disabilities and says, have you guys thought about this? Have you considered that? We need to do that with our kids, all of our kids, and ensure that is happening. So work as a team. This is the main part of it. Work as a team to ensure every student who walks through our doors feels safe, valued, respected, and has the appropriate environment to thrive. This position does connect academics, connects mental health, social, emotional, and student engagement. What it is not a position grounded in social or political agendas or movements. I know many of you have communicated the fact that you're scared at what this could be and what it could become. I'm telling you from day one, we are not here to focus on social or political agendas or movements that are out there by people and having, teaching our kids and getting our kids ingrained in those. It is not focused on critical race theory. I'll say it again. It's not focused on critical race theory. If you're worried about our curriculum, we have a process. Our curriculum has to be vetted. And I say that because we have a process where many, many people look at our curriculum pieces. In this case, probably a lot like our sex ed curriculum, we would want many eyes on it. We would want many parents' eyes on it. We'd want a lot of feedback before it ever went to our district and school improvement team, who then would
analyze it, check it out, and if they signed off on it, would send it to this Board of Education, who then would have to sign off on it. But I'm telling you, we would, we have a we have a curriculum process, and we follow this process, and I'm telling you, we will follow this process on this. So also, what is not focused on extreme beliefs on either side of the social or political spectrum. Again, our role is to work as a team to ensure every student who walks through our doors feels those things that we have mentioned. And it's not a reactionary decision based upon current events. While important and while they do shed light on a lot of things, we've been talking about diversity and equity and inclusion and this need for over 3 years, as I had shown you before. If there's anything that you leave my presentation with, please let it be this last paragraph. It is not an attempt to dishonor the core traditional values of Grandville that make it the great place that it is, but rather to ensure that every student, again, who walks through our doors feels valued and respected and has what they need to achieve academic, social, and emotional success. And by the way, that's not at the expense of anyone else. This is here for everyone. It's here to lift everyone so that everyone who walks through those doors feels that way. That is what we're called to do. That paragraph there is, when you look at kids need to come through our doors feeling like they belong. And we have data that says some of our kids are not feeling that way. And we're doing everything we can possible from this angle, as you saw with the academic and the perception data that we showed you, to ensure that they are.
Raj, I
Yes.
want to interrupt real quick, and I apologize.
That's
but,
okay.
Roger and I had a dialogue last week, and I said if something came up, I was going to ask him a question. So based on Brenda, and Brenda, you've come to us twice, and you're very memorable, my dear. So bless your heart for that. So with your comment with regard to teachers, I'd like to go back to what Roger said with is, because I'm following this closely myself. In number 3, he says, creating a classroom environment that represents and respects all students. So how we're going, all students, my dear. So how Roger is going to monitor that in his administration, that's just a focus point that I think many people will have. So am I right?
You are right.
Thank you.
And
I just wanted to make sure there was no question there, because.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Want to talk a little bit again about, about this position. So this person will report out to the board annually. They'll be evaluated by me annually. And then in year 3, we would determine a continuance of the position moving forward, or if we needed to look at other alternatives to support all students. Again, we'd be looking at, are we closing achievement gaps? Are we seeing nice gains in student perceptions of their school experiences, socially, emotionally? If you could tell me that our data academically, with the subgroups that I mentioned, and socially, emotionally, and you saw that, with that data, I mean, it really isn't a particular group of kids. It's kind of, somewhat good to quite good, but are we able to move that needle? So every student, or almost every student, there's a huge increase in when kids walk through the doors, they feel like they're respected. They feel like they belong. Are we going to see that improvement, or aren't we? So those are ways we would measure it. I want to thank you for listening. We value your thoughts and concerns. I appreciate everyone's time, appreciate everybody's input, and thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me. Please feel free to call me. I didn't get very many phone calls on this, and I would be happy to talk to people. Very happy to talk to people. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger, very much. And if folks want to keep staying, they're more than welcome to. We're going to do some board reports. And how about if we start with Amy?
Okay, am I on here? Can you hear me? First of all, I do want to thank everybody who did come. I have this favorite quote that says, "Distance does not separate us, but silence does." So I do appreciate every single voice that was that spoke tonight. Being the liaison for the Parks and Recreation Board, it's been really fun to see some of the ideas that we're talking about with some grant writing. So we're talking about some fishing, extra fishing locations, pickleball courts, bike trails, and we do have a 3-person grant team now. We did miss out on some grants that we had just missed, but those are always annual. Another cool thing that the Parks and Recreation Department is doing with us is that we are maybe going to offer, we're still trying to figure out the timing, but Community Ed is going to partner with the Makatawa Waterway Outdoor Discovery Center and our own Tom Kelly in offering a 6th through 8th grade survivor camp. So that's kind of exciting. Some of the things that I saw from the school this week that were great, our lacrosse clubs are doing wonderfully. We came for an orchestra concert, and it was really nice to see that Brianna Little has been hired to help out Brian. Our track team has been doing really well. My own son got his personal record, which was nice. Yeah, I know. I love that our 6th grade now has a bunch of really cool plans for the teachers have been trying to really make the 6th graders move up into middle school, something special. And the green team here at the high school, they started planting out some really cool things for their gardens. So they have been working they've come 2 or 3 different times to do volunteer hours and building up fences and painting and weeding and mulching, and it's been awesome. So lots of really good stuff happening here in Grandville.
Thank you. Kim.
Well, first, thank you to everyone who came tonight and shared their voice. I'm going to say thank you to you because I'm sitting here listening to how you have such a pulse on things. And I know it's because not only you're aware of them, but you're there. Every time I turn around, Amy's there. That's what you have for kids in
Thanks.
multiple sports and activities and in the arts, but I appreciate how much you know about our community and what all the great things, especially
And you
with
too.
the
Thanks.
garden. So I also wanted to give a shout out to the track team and all the other sports that are coming to a close in the spring. We had a lot of great things going on. I love the culture we build around the community of athletics here. It's not just about winning, but about those personal records, those reaching of milestones. And I love seeing our kids encourage the last runner over the line. That is just, those are the kids that we want coming out of this community. So thank you to those coaches. The community ed brochure, we were given a copy of that last week. We didn't really talk about it, but wow, if your kids aren't involved in some of those opportunities, or you as adults, we have adult education opportunities there. Please take a look at that. We have a lot of great things going on, and I'm always impressed by how we continue to grow that program. And I noticed on our agenda tonight, we have some stuff at the Early Childhood Center. And I just want to say, we've been talking so much about COVID and this and that, how to survive the year. Just want to recognize that that building has come to fruition this year, and I can't wait to see how it grows, because early childhood is the foundation of everything that we do here, making sure our students start off right. And so I'm really excited. If you're not aware of that building, take a drive down by Fairlanes and see what's been happening there. Also want to say thank you to our music teachers who have pulled off some amazing programs this year around all the different rules, and allow those kids an opportunity to shine in what they've been learning and practicing, and allow the parents those moments of pride to see their kids' growth in the arts. So it's really great to see. I also want to say I'm going to come back to the gratitude I have for the community coming out here tonight and speaking. I was a social studies teacher, and so my life was dedicated for almost 20 years to teaching students to be citizens of the world. It wasn't just about the academia of it. I knew they could look up what the capital of Turkey was someday. Those things were important to me, like being a good citizen was. And part of being a good citizen is that public discourse. Learning when to speak up, learning when to share your voice and your thoughts and your opinions, and learning to do it in a way that's respectful, that shows your opinion, that also is representation of our democracy and our values of peaceful compromise. And so I really appreciate hearing the different thoughts here tonight, and we'll take into consideration those things. But I also want to say an extreme debt of gratitude to Roger and his presentation tonight, and owning the places where it was difficult, but also giving real data behind it. I've felt these things, have been in education for years, and have had the privilege of seeing behind the curtains and knowing the data that comes into our subgroups in this community and many communities in Michigan. It's an epidemic where children are left behind, but as a whole, we shine as a district, but we don't want to just shine with the majority, with everybody. So I really appreciate that we're looking in every corner and finding what needs to be done to help our students. And I want to share with everyone here something that's very personal from my own household this week. My son, who is autistic, but high functioning, he's brilliant, got off of a Google Meet with one of his service providers here. We have fantastic providers. He meets with a social worker on the regular. He meets with a speech therapist, but he was distraught. And I had to turn off my work computer, step away from a meeting and ask what's wrong. And this giant high school child curled up in my lap. And he said to me, "Why do I have to work so hard to understand everyone else's minds and what they need of me? Why doesn't anyone ever seem to understand who I am?" And start there. That was an amazing moment to hear from my own child. It took a lot for him to make that connection, but it was a good question for everyone else who has a typical brain. His experiences are not my experiences. I can't make him different. I can't make the world different, but we could all take an opportunity to stop and listen and find out, how do we start where he's at instead of how to make him come to where we're at? And I hope we see that opportunity in this position.
Barb? Yeah, thank you for your comments. They're both really well done. And I also want to thank the audience for staying. Well, sorry, as you're leaving.
No judgment. It's
But
late.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I think, or actually, for coming and then, when, I don't know, I just feel like, some of the things said tonight, it's kind of hard to hear. But I do appreciate that it's being said so that we can hear it and that we can understand it somewhat. I think sometimes some things aren't true. What I heard today, it's not true what's being said. But I appreciate so much Roger's ability to try to put it into perspective for some of us. That maybe what they heard tonight isn't what they thought it was. And hopefully that they and us here can move forward with this in continuing the dialogue. Because I think Roger's right that the timing has been a little awkward even for some of us board members. Like, how far are we and where are we going? And I know we've talked about this back in, before COVID, and also it was a very helpful presentation, and I hope all of you learned something that maybe you thought was what you thought, but you learned it's something maybe different. Last thing I want to share is my daughter recently was selected to be a donor match for bone marrow. She was be the match. She signed up through Grandville High School. We were trying to find a match for one of our students, and many of the classmates and students here, scholars here, gave of their bone marrow or their blood. And 10 years, almost 10 years later, she was asked and found to be a match. And I relate that back to Grandville. Grandville might be able to save a life. If it weren't for Grandville's commitment to community and to our scholars and our parents and our staff and all that, we wouldn't be anywhere. So keep coming. We need to hear, we need to talk. We don't need to boo. But I think we do need to keep coming back to our meetings. And I've been on the board for almost, 15 years. And very few people come to the board meeting. So we do rely on our administrators and others to help us here. Sometimes if we're not out in the community ourselves, or maybe not getting the full picture, it's here that we hear it. And I appreciate again all that you contributed today for us.
Thank you, Barb. Bob,
Nothing.
Jason,
Boy, all kinds of fun stuff happening, right? We had the band concerts coming back, which was great a couple weeks ago. Geez, how long ago was it now? I can't remember. It's been a little while. But those, we had those for the high school, which was great. We've got the junior high coming up next week, I believe. Unfortunately, it's during the day, but they'll be videotaped, which is going to be cool. So the parents can see them. So a lot of tennis, a lot of lacrosse, and I don't think Jacqueline's here, but darn it all, tonight, I told Roger, my middle schooler was playing Jenison. If there's one team, I'm sorry to say this, if there's one team I hate to lose to, it's Jenison. I'm an old Bulldog and that's our rival. And no, so unfortunately we lost to Jenison this week, but oh well, right? We'll get them next time. So lots of cool stuff going on. Again, I too want to thank the parents that did come and did stay. It kind of made me reflect a little bit. I've been on the board now for about 2.5 years. But before I got on the board, I came to probably 90% of the board meetings for 2 years before that. And unless you had a kid being presented and a certificate or something like that, there was no parents. No one ever showed up. It was just me and the board members for the most part. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot coming to these. So I'm glad to see people come and listen. I wish more of them would have stayed around. I appreciate you all up there in the cheap seats. That's awesome. I appreciate you guys still being here. Yeah, there we go. I also wanted to reflect on one thing too. And, hopefully, people came tonight and had a little bit of an open mind. I got a call from an old friend last week asking about this exact situation, this exact position. And I know that person was coming from a different viewpoint than what I had of the DEI position. Again, because I've got 4 years of experience, 2 years on the board and 2 years before that of seeing the data. And that person asked me, what is this all about, right? And they had, like I said, a different view of what this position was than what I had. And, we talked for about 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. And at the end of it, they said, so I get it now, right? And I'm not saying that they now fully agree with the position, nor, do I, believe, hey, they have the exact same feelings I have about it. But what I so appreciated was that willingness to seek to understand. I work in HR, and that's one of the things we teach our managers all the time. And, Roger and I have had even some discussions about this in the past about, hey, Jason, stop. Let's seek to understand first, right? And in our climate, in our community today, I find we don't do that. We still want to jump on people for having a different viewpoint than what we have as being wrong. And hey, there's some type of ulterior motive to things. And I just encourage us all to, hey, if you don't understand something and if you have a question about it, stop, ask questions, just seek to understand, try to get more information. I think we went away from that discussion, maybe understanding each other a little bit better and where each other was coming from. Again, like I said, I don't think I had a convert at the end of it all, but the willingness to have the discussion, I think, was the most important thing. And I encourage us all to continue, come to these meetings, seek to understand what's going on in our schools, seek to understand what the purpose of the board is and what are some of the things we're trying to do. So that's all I have.
excellent. Thank you. Brent.
All right, I'll start out again. Thanks all the parents and teachers that came to this meeting. It's great to see the passion behind the students at Grandville, so that's good to see. I wasn't on the board when we went back to school last fall, but I just want to recognize again the teachers and the students that went back to school. We know a whole lot more now than what we did then, and Grandville led the way in terms of getting the kids back in the classroom where they learn the best. So I really appreciate that. Just want to say that one more time. And then also football season 2021 kicked off last night. We had the kickoff with all the 9th through 12th graders to talk about the upcoming year and look forward to that. My wife and I are in charge of fundraising, so we'll be trying to sell dog cards to all of you. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I was excited that I got an email about the kindergarten tailgate party. So I know that's happening in the fall, which is always great traditions to keep going at our school district. And then I'm excited to bring into the world who'll be a graduate in 2039. And that is
2039.
my son and his wife had a baby and they live in Grandville, like in the backyard of Central Elementary School. It's kind of just bizarre. And so I'm really excited that Demetrius will have a son going to Grandville Central Elementary. And who will be part of this great school district and everything that we're doing in it. Again, I took away a really nice comment. I wrote it down. I loved it. From Ashley Zeiderveen, and that was invited in instead of calling out. So I appreciate everybody's comments and wanted to, share. Anyway, so that is it from our comments. Thank you, Roger, for your awesome presentation. All right, so let's go on to any old business.
No old business.
All right, can I have an approval of? Yeah, I appreciate your comments. If you could maybe stick around afterwards, that'd be great.
Rose?
So.
Yeah. And I can tell you, I'd be happy to talk to you about that and what we're doing.
We hear you. Please email us.
And I
Please
would
call.
love to give you
Okay.
just the insight that there are many of us up here who have children who have suffered deep, deep mental illness, myself included. So much so that my son actually did not graduate from Grandville. And part of it is a lot, okay. I'm sorry.
All right, consent action items. Can I have a,
So
So
moved.
moved, support.
all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. So now we have our action items. Let me pull myself together here. I feel like I need a timer. All right. First item up, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the 2020-2021 performance evaluation of Superintendent Roger Barrett and approve his contract extension through June 30, 2024. Can I have a motion to move?
Support.
Excellent. And I'm going to throw it to no one. So we all were present at our last meeting, and this is making this official. So I think we'll go with a roll call. Anybody have any discussion? What was that?
I have something.
Okay.
So Raj, 6 years?
Yes,
Is that where we're at?
6 years.
6 years. I've enjoyed you as our superintendent. And I know this seems kind of odd, doesn't it? Of all the superintendents I have worked with, you're the one I admire the most. So not everything that this district does is correct. Not everything is on point. But you try your hardest to make sure that we take care of our kids. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
We're
Say
gonna do
aye.
a roll call, aren't we?
Yes.
I was going to. Let's
Okay.
do a roll call. Inviting in instead of calling out. Let's go.
Hi, Bar.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Cardine,
Absolutely.
DeHaan,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Wonder Jim, yes. Buck.
Yes. Next item on the agenda, Grandville Education Center Playground Equipment. It is recommended that the Board of Education. Thank you. Approve the purchase of playground equipment. And Icon Shelter, rubber surfacing and installation of the playground equipment distributed by Ventura in the amount of $92,001. Can I have a motion?
Support.
Excellent. And I'm gonna throw it to Roger.
Sure, and I'm gonna throw it to Heather because she has a lot of background on this. We're so excited about the Grandville Education Center, and as you know, we had a base playground that is there. I drove by today, the grass is growing and I'm all excited. But I think this is gonna add a little more activity for the kids, and so Heather will touch base on it.
Good evening. So this purchase will do like Roger said. This was initially planned as a phase 2 purchase for the playground at the GEC. We're going to add swings. We'll add the rubber that goes around them too. A hill slide, which is really cool. So all students will have access to it. You don't necessarily have to climb a ladder. 20 by 20 shade pavilion. And then there are a couple of excavation things that are in there as well that will run through actually phase 4 that will bring back to end of June for the additional classroom space that we'll be building out in the GEC. I'll just kind of scroll down here. I know this was all in here, but I'll show you guys some of the renderings for the design. As you can see, the current main structure is already in place if you've been over there, as well as the track around. So we'll have 6 swings added. And then this one, I believe.
Heather, while you're doing that,
Sure.
I've got a question just because, you know, it's getting a little late and I know we want to make sure we get it right. But for this particular vendor, when we started doing some of the other playground equipment, wasn't it from somebody on the other side of the state?
So Ventura is the rep, but the distribution is like the distributor of the shade structure, for instance, is a company out of Holland that manufactures the Icon Shelter.
Okay.
The actual swing set and slide structure will be from Landscape Structures or Landscape. Yeah, it was in there. Sorry.
Because there's one purchase order. So are we,
Yeah.
so it's been, but we're still out of Brighton, right? We're still out of the other side of the state. This is the same company we had talked about earlier, correct?
Correct. This is
Got
the
it.
same
Okay.
company that did the first.
Yep.
Yep.
No, I thought so, but when Holland came into play, my brain started wondering.
So I guess to that point, the slide and the swings
Mm-hmm.
are through Ventura Landscape Structures, but the Icon Shelter, it's repped by Ventura out of Brighton, but it's manufactured in Holland.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Heather, the photos didn't show, is this all fenced in?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Is all the installation costs and everything are negotiated through the HGAC program?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, total price for all this in your mind,
With
under budget, over budget? What's your, I mean, how happy are you with what we're
Yeah.
doing?
We're probably a little under budget for the playground piece right now.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Good.
Just out of curiosity, I was talking to Brent about this before, but the 20 by 20 structure, it feels small. was there any discussion on that? I mean,
Yeah, so all of the input was through, we worked with Jennifer Harper, we worked with the preschool and treehouse teachers over there, and based on the size. Plus, at some point, there will be, those trees will grow up, there will be trees that have grown up a little
Near
bit
that,
and be more
okay.
mature too, so.
it's one of those things, right?
Yep.
You always build it bigger if you can, right? Yeah, so.
Excellent. Anybody else? All right, roll call, please.
Right, we're on 5B. So Palmer,
Yes.
DeHaan,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Wonder Jim, yes. Gardine,
Yes.
Ibar,
Yes.
Buck.
Yes. Excellent. Next item. This is awesome. Musical instrument purchase. Where is Bob Persky? All right, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the purchase of new instruments as followed. Orchestra High School from Meyer Music, $99,718. Band High School and Middle School, Meyer Music, $470,769.32. Elementary Music, West Music Company, $82,074.37 with a total investment of $654,000, $561.69. The 2020 bond will cover $579,561.69 of the total, and the general fund will cover the remaining $75,000. Incredible. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support? Support. And Roger?
Yes, and I'm going to turn this one over to Heather again, but before I do that, I just want to say it was a great collaborative effort with the great people we have working with our kids. I see one of those people, definitely a couple back there, maybe. And so I'll turn things over to Heather and she can tell you about the process and what we came up with.
Sure, so as you recall, this was part of a line item in the November 19 bond issue. And the reason for the split funding through general fund is the amount allocated through the bond. We knew that we didn't have enough allocated there to cover it. Bringing you the general fund portion tonight so that I don't have to come back, but I do anticipate that that portion will come out of next year's budget. And as Roger said, had a great committee. It consisted of Mr. Langto, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Bridges, Mr. Peltz, Mr. C, and Mrs. Weirling. You'll note we don't have anything for the middle school right now. We had a lot of discussion about that with Mrs. Good. And part of that has to do with the temperature change at the current middle school, and that can lead to cracking of those instruments. So we're gonna hold off on that portion until probably, well, if we're gonna hopefully open in fall of 23, it'll probably be that spring, so that we're ready to go for the fall for the middle school orchestra instruments.
So does anyone know what will be happening in the 5-6 building and music? Will it still be general music or will the 6th grade?
That's one of the things that we do have on our list. I have a kind of a list that I bug Roger about bell times in the 5-6. And that's more for our curriculum discussion that we will be working on. We're also going to be putting together a 5-6 design team and start to look at that too, probably after school gets out sometime later in June.
Is it
Excellent.
possible we'll
Great.
be introducing 5th grade music?
There's a lot of opportunity there. And that's part of that committee that we're going to get together, our current music programs, having discussions and how the flow could be and just take a look at what could be. But obviously with those facilities that are currently there, there's great opportunity to do some really great things at even younger levels or different levels. So we're very excited about that.
Sounds exciting.
Heather. You know, I always gotta have at least one, right? I think I have two. All right, Mr. Garcia. So my question is, I see multiple vendors here.
Yes.
Typically, I'd only see one.
Yep.
And just by chance, is West Music Company a company that may not have been too happy with opportunity in the past, or no, that's not them?
No, that is a different company.
Okay, just
And-
wondering, because they
and-
sort of went away.
And I do want to say, I forgot that Ms. Janelle Mergen was also on the committee. And we had discussion with her and Mr. Peltz. And she was fine going with the vendor.
Okay,
So-
just, that's the first one.
Yep.
So my other question is, what was the total allotted funds that we have for this bond for music?
For music was 500,000, but with the way that the 7-8
No,
building.
I get that.
Okay.
So that wasn't my question, but thanks
So-
for anticipating. No, my question is, you said you haven't done the middle school yet.
Mhm.
So where are these magical funds gonna come from? You notice, I
Yeah.
should have said musical,
Yep.
but I just wanted to say magical.
So I'll answer how I was going to answer your question, and that is because the 7 and 8, the building came in under, we reallocated some of that.
The funds for that?
Funds to that, and while the number's not here right now, it includes the middle school.
Great. I love your answer. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
I'm done with any questions. You're safe.
Does anyone have any other comments? Okay, we're gonna do a roll
Thank you.
call.
That's all my
Wonder
comment was.
Jim, yes.
Thank you. And thank
Palmer,
you.
Yes.
Highbauer,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Jardine,
Yes.
Dahan,
Yes.
Buck.
Yes.
No, you don't.
Okay. All right, next item up is our action here. It's a recommendation, and we are deemed with the responsibility to elect a KISD district for the district, the members of the ISD board. So in front of us, we have 3 candidates that are put in front of us.
Yes.
Is there another one?
Actually, yeah, and I'll expand on this. So yeah, we're doing 2 things. Number 1, we have to designate a person to represent you as the board at the ISD on Monday, June 7th at 6 PM. You'll recall at our last meeting, you had mentioned Mr. Bob Wondergem as being that person. And we also need to designate a backup person, and you designated Mrs. Christie Buck as the backup person for that night. There are some candidates, and we need to have a little bit of discussion about the candidates. And I'm going to be very honest with you, and I've tried very hard to get more information. I gave you some information on a few of them. Some of the candidates did not submit any information. But I did gather or glean a little bit of information on them. There is one position that's a 6-year term, and you have 2 people running for that. You have Kyle Clement, who is a board member from Caledonia. I know a few of you might recall him as I know he works at Williams and Company here in town, but Kyle is a Caledonia board member. Matthew Reddick is the incumbent. You do have information on Matt Reddick. He's been at the ISD since 2017. Through Kenilworth Hills, he was a board member in Kenilworth Hills from 2001 to December 2020. So he is there as well in the information. So you need to select one of those 2 people for that 6-year term. And then we can move on to the partial term.
Okay.
So, Kyle, nice guy. My preference is with the incumbent.
Anyone else have a?
My preference is also with the incumbent.
I agree. I agree.
I agree.
Does anyone want to say anything else?
case.
So we have we have chose Matt rather, Matt
Yep.
Reddick,
Okay,
not his brother Mark.
okay. And then there's a partial term, and there are 3 people running for that partial term. There's Laura Featherston, who I believe has some information in your packet. She's a board member from Rockford.
She also sent us all emails.
And, okay, sent emails. Eric John Zapiniak, who I believe you're aware of, he's Kenwood Hills board member. He has run for the ISD for an election in the past. He visited, I believe, one of our board meetings. So I'm sure some of you might recall him. I did hear he's going to law school, so I'm not sure how he's going to do that, but, and that he may be moving. So I guess we'll find out. Nothing, he provided you information and nothing has been said that he is in fact moving. So I guess we just assume he's still there. And then Beth Milanowski is an East Grand Rapids board member. And I know she has been there for some time and did not provide any more information. So you have a partial term candidate, and those 3 are your people to choose from.
So Laura would be my pick because I guess she truly did reach out to us. It might have been in a simple way. Eric John, I think, has some history with us, and he would not be my first pick. So this third person, I really don't know anything about them. So for me, it would be Laura Featherston.
I also noticed that Matt is from Kennewick Hills and so would Eric John. So that would maybe help to have someone from a different district serve.
Good point. I also agree that Laura would be the best choice for this position.
Amy, anything down there?
I am down here and I agree.
Okay. How about guys on the end?
I'm fine with Laura.
Yeah, I agree with Barb, getting representation. from different- huh?
Diversity.
Yeah. Well, just a different school district. I'll just put it that
That's how
way.
you got the look.
All right, so we're okay with Laura Featherston.
Okay.
Okay, so those are our selections. So we're gonna take a vote. All right, so did I get a motion that we were gonna, okay, I need a motion to approve our selections.
So I'll make the motion.
Excellent.
I move that, it's a 3-part. I move that we appoint myself as primary rep and Christy Buck as the alternate for the district for the June 7th vote at the ISD boardroom, along with our selection of Matt Reddick for the 6-year term and Laura Featherston for the partial term of 4 years. Support that motion. Thank you.
So a nice motion. Do I have a sec?
Jason
The
just.
second is Highbauer.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call. Why not? What the heck?
Wonder Jim, yes. Highbauer,
Yes.
DeHaan,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Line,
Yes.
Gardine,
Yeah.
Yes.
Buck.
Yes. All right, these microphones.
Sign this.
Yes.
Excellent. So with that. I am gonna say that right here, right? Yep. So the next board meeting at the Grandville Board of Education, we hope everybody will come back who's here left with us. On
your turn
Monday,
next, Aaron.
June 21st, 2021 at 7. So far, it's at the admin building. And the budget hearing will begin at 6
You're not, yeah, right.
June.
Our next meeting is June 7th, but the budget hearing won't be held until the 21st.
Right.
Okay.
That's okay.
So mark it on your calendar. Bob is gonna be over at the ISD at 6.
Yes.
All right, we've got it. All right, so meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.